everybody. We're back. It's all good. My next guest stars in the ABC sitcom George Lopez, and beginning this Friday, you can see him in the film The Adventures of Shark Boy and Lava Girl in 3D. Please welcome George Lopez.
Hey!
Now, you and I talked briefly backstage about this, but this is pretty serious stuff. You were quite ill recently.
I was.
And this is an amazing story. You needed a kidney replacement, and your wife...
My wife, Ann, gave me one of her kidneys so that I could live.
Isn't that amazing? That's just...
How about that? That tells you that I'm not married to a Mexican girl.
Why is that?
Because she would have been like, the way he treats me, bull. That was it. So my wife, and you know, and it's been so much goodwill, you know, like we're on the cover of People, you know, if you've seen the cover of People,
right,
I'm lying in a hospital bed with an IV. Conan, I look like Eric Estrada at 9 o'clock in the morning, you know.
I've seen him at 9 a.m. It's not pretty.
And there's so much goodwill, but being Chicano, you know, we start to turn on people who have been good to us. It's just part of a cultural, you know, kind of a defect. So everybody says, like, well, your wife is an angel. And I'm like, you know what? I could have lived 3 months without it, man. Really, who cares? But, you know, I would have been good till August 9th, man. What's the big deal?
Yeah. Were you nervous? Because this is a big operation. I mean, before you went under, were you getting
Well, before
panicky?
I went under, they had taken my wife early. So they start her, and then I'm in this room, and I'm kind of laying there. And this woman comes in, and I don't even know who she is, but she leans over me. She starts putting makeup on in this mirror, and I'm laying there going, okay. She's putting, like, blush and this, and I'm like, who is this lady? You know, so I went under the assumed name Tom Ace. I didn't go in as George Lopez. I went under from Ace Ventura, you know, Tom Ace.
Right.
That's
the name you use when you go places?
Yeah, Tom Ace. But
can't use it anymore.
Not anymore. I'll be Ernest T. Bass now.
Yeah.
So everybody got tricked, but the orderlies, who are Latinos that work at the hospital, you know, because they'd be mopping and they'd go, Tom Ace, that's George Lopez, man. Tom Ace, you know. So what happened was the lady said to me, I think it's wonderful what your wife is doing for you by giving you life. And I said, well, if you saw where we lived, it's the least she could do, you know.
Right.
And no laughter, you know, she just nothing. So, you know, being a comedian, when you're in trouble, you punch it again. And I go, yeah, we got a house in Pebble Beach, too, so if I need the other kidney, I'm taking that one, too. Nothing, just like this. Just like this.
They all work in that hospital.
But, you know, the whole thing is people always say now, everywhere I go now, because of the kidney, and my wife is just really a saint. But I get you have to be so nice to your wife now that she's giving you a kidney. I'm like, not as nice as I had to be before she gave me the kidney.
Now
I can do whatever I want now. You don't like my attitude? Yeah, well, you should have about that before you gave me the kidney, man. Because me and your kidney are going out, so later. We'll probably be home around 5.
You know what's unusual? When someone gets a donor kidney, they usually, and many times they have to go to a blood relative, and so it's unusual to go to your wife.
It is unusual, and
did you think about going to your family?
You know what, Conan, my family and I do not get along. I mean, they're in worse shape than I was, man, really. I mean, I didn't want to get a transplant from my family and wake up with 2 strikes against me, you know?
Right.
You know, all of a sudden wake up in a prison hospital. What happened? Your kidney was seen at the double murder crime scene. Ruben, you're coming with us. What?
So you didn't know that you were that sick, right? You had no idea.
You know, I knew that I was sick, and I didn't tell anybody because, you know, one thing Latinos never do is confide.
Right.
You know, white people are very good at confiding.
Sure.
You know, I'm an infidel, please forgive me, you know. And us, I mean, you could see a guy with a girl he's not supposed to be with, and they could bust you, and they'd go, hey, didn't I see you last night with a girl aren't you married? And when Chicanos know we're busted, we always go, who told you that?
Right.
That's how you know we're busted. Whenever you hear, yeah, who told you that? Busted.
Right.
Like somebody will say, there's $40 missing from my wallet. Did you take it? Who told you that?
I'm going to try that and see if it works.
Try. Who told you
now,
that?
I have to
Don't
ask...
try the one about the other one.
I'll try it all. You testified at the Michael Jackson trial.
I did.
Which I have to ask you about that. A few celebrities have been called, and you were called.
I was one of them, and I was accused of taking $300 from this boy's wallet, which I did not. It was $280. No.
Yeah.
But But what happened was that I got pulled to court. My wife and I actually testified. So when I come around the corner, it's very quiet in Santa Maria. And you come around the corner and you see all these Jackson zealots, man.
Sure, yeah.
And so I get out of the car,
right.
and immediately they know me, and they start yelling, "Hey, George Lopez! George Lopez!" And there's one voice that's louder than the other, and it's this one lady who's yelling, "Don't touch boys' private parts! Don't touch boys' private parts!" And I'm looking back and I go, "Who told you that?" What the hell? You know,
well,
and I'm like,
well, now we got to talk.
And I'm like, why are you yelling at me? The guy you want's already inside, man. So I go in the courtroom, and
Did you see Michael? Is he? I mean,
it's surreal in there, man. I mean, it's very quiet, and you see all the reporters, all the pool reporters, you see them. And then I look at Michael over the corner, and there's Michael Jackson, literally looking like a nutcracker, you know, at Christmas.
Right.
I mean, the dude looked.
Oh, calm down, everybody.
I mean, this cat dresses like the Captain and Tennille at the same time.
Yeah.
So I mean, literally looks like a guy who would help you to your seat at Lowe's Theater from the 50s, man.
He's got the weird uniform.
He's got the weird uniform, you know. He doesn't have the pillbox hat, but, you know.
Right.
And I'm looking at him, and I can't help but think, does he look Asian or the color you paint the guest bedroom? I mean, what the hell is this? Who is this dude?
So it's...
Hey, I didn't touch the boys' private parts. Relax.
So this is strange because I'm just, you know, you're there and so you testify and it's just got to be a surreal experience.
It was the most unbelievable place that I'd ever been. And then they did the reenactment.
Oh, were you happy with who played you in the reenactment?
The dude looked more like Scott Peterson than he looked like me. But the one that got my wife is my wife was dressed up in a St. John knit, and it was some great color, and then they just cast some non-union actress to play my wife. And my wife went nuts, like, you know, because it wasn't her.
She was mad at who played her in the E.
She looked like Mindy from The Facts of Life, man. I'm not married to Mindy from The Facts of Life, so my wife is, like, upset. She calls me on the phone, and she says, "Did you see the E reenactment?" I said, "No, I haven't seen it." "Well, somebody told me that they saw you watch it." "Who told you that?" "No, that ain't going to work then." So I had to buy off time till, you know, but it was bizarre, man. To say the least.
I can imagine. I'm glad I wasn't called.
So I'll just say this. Whatever the verdict is in the Michael Jackson trial, I don't think that there'll be similar riots as to the Rodney King case. I don't think that African-American people are going to riot for some cat that looks Asian.
Right,
you know?
right.
Maybe some Korean store owners may burn their own stores, but I don't expect...
It's going to be a confusing day for everybody.
Do I like this, or where am I?
The Adventures of Shark Boy and Lava Girl in 3D. You play 4 parts in this movie.
4 parts, which... Robert Rodriguez is a brilliant filmmaker, but he's also Mexican-American. So one thing that we do is when we hire one guy to do one job, he ends up doing 4. I have 4 parts, and I laid some tile when I wasn't working.
All right, The Adventures of Shark Boy, Lava Girl in 3D. Opens Friday. George, I'm so glad that you're well and you're doing so great. George Lopez, and we're at that Kaiser Chiefs. Everybody, we're back. We're back. That's our show. That was great. I want to thank all my guests. Stay tuned for Last Call with Carson Daly. Bye!